On this episode of Naruto Fans Are Stupid, I'll be tackling world building. I was actually writing a video about world building from the lens of One Piece, but Naruto works better. Let's get into it. Take your likes and throw them up like you believe me. Yeah, the art's cold, but the essay's anemic. It's crazy how One Piece really tricks so many people into believing that more locations equals better world building. Every time I hear someone diss Naruto's world building, One Piece is always brought up. First, I'll give OP its flowers. Creating several distinct locations is an impressive feature, but let's dive deeper. Counting the different locations will be important. The 6 arcs in the East Blue Saga didn't have unique locations. The relevant locations are Orangetown, Syrup Village, Baratie, Arlong Park, and Logtown. All of them look similar with the exception of Baratie, which is just a restaurant on a ship. That's 5 locations. What about Alabasta? There's Reverse Mountain, Whiskey Peak, Little Garden, Drum Island, and Alabasta. Reverse Mountain is just a passageway, so I'm not gonna count that. That'd be like counting the Don guy in Bleach. Whiskey Peak looks basic and barely has any info on its wiki page. The other 3 are unique. That brings us up to 9 locations. Sky Island has Jaya and Skypiea. Jaya looks like a basic East Blue place, but Skypiea is unique. That's 11. Water 7 has Long Ring Longland, Water 7, and Annie's Lobby. Long Ring looks kinda basic, but with a gimmick. The other 2 are solid. That's 14 now. Thriller Bark makes 15. The Summit War Saga had Sabaody, Amazon Lily, Impel Down, and Marine Ford. That's 19 places in pre-time skip. Post-time skip adds Fishman Island, Punk Hazard, Dressrosa, Zoe, Whole Cake Island, Wano, and the Future Island. That's 7 new places and 26 total. One Piece had 19 before time skip. So now anime fans that have seen One Piece believe that if your story doesn't have 20 different distinct locations, your story has bad world building. Let's do a quick comparison. Naruto has the 5 lands with the villages, Amegakure, Odogakure, and the Land of Waves. There are other smaller places, but I'm gonna keep it simple. That's 8 locations. Bleach has 4. Earth, Soul Society, Hueco Mundo, and Silburn. Demon Slayer has 4. Mount Naragumo, Red Light District, Swordsmith Village, and Infinity Castle. Hero Academia basically has 1 location, UA. Black Clover has the 4 kingdoms, Dungeon, Seabed Temple, and Witch's Forest. That's 7. Jujutsu Kaisen has Kyoto Academy, Shibuya, and Sendai Colony. That's 3. Magi has Balbad, Sindria, Magnoshitad, Rem, Dark Continent, Ko, Almataran, and a few others that aren't really visited. That's 7. Attack on Titan has 2, Inside the Walls and Marley. Toaru basically has 1 location, Academy City. By these One Piece laws, these stories would all be guilty of having bad world building because they don't reach 20 locations. Fairy Tail is the only manga that I can think of that could meet this requirement. Let's take this outside of anime. Star Wars Original Trilogy, a beloved fantasy trilogy by many with a well-known setting. How many actual locations were there in this trilogy? 6. Tatooine, Yavin 4, Hoth, Dagobah, Bespin, and Endor. That fails the One Piece test. If you throw in the prequels, you get 8 more. Naboo, Coruscant, Tatooine, Kamino, Geonosis, Utapu, Kashyyyk, and Mustafar. That's 14 total. It still fails. Lord of the Rings is another popular fantasy trilogy. I'll be honest, I don't remember how many places there were, and I'm too uninterested to look it up, but in the movie trilogy, I can guarantee you that there were under 20. What about Harry Potter? Another popular fantasy story. Most of the story takes place at Hogwarts, which is 1 location. There are other schools introduced in the 4th movie, but none of them are shown. The students just come to Hogwarts. So do all these fantasies have bad world building? Hopefully you can see how stupid this is. Number 1. More locations does not equal a better setting. Number 2. The amount of locations is not the only thing that goes into world building. What is world building? It can be dumbed down to setting development. How well did a writer flesh out the world that their characters live in? That would mean that lore falls under world building. Lore is arguably more important than locations, but that's an argument for another day. So, does Naruto have good lore? Absolutely. So many characters are given rich backstories that connect back to older characters. You could draw out a tree of all connected histories. Let's do it. Hagoromo's history involves defeating Kaguya and having 2 kids. Those 2 kids form clans that give birth to Hashirama and Madara. These 2 are responsible for creating ninja villages and spreading the tailed beasts among them. Hashirama becomes the first Hokage and eventually passes it down to his brother, the second Hokage. During his tenure, World War I happens, and Hiruzen, one of his students, is made the 3rd Hokage. Hiruzen taught Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Orochimaru, the Sannin, who fought in World War II to get their fame. Jiraiya taught Minato, who would become famous by World War III, which was fought in with his own students. Kakashi was one of those students. When he becomes an adult, he teaches the protagonist Naruto. There are many more details, like the Uchiha Massacre, Obito, Nagato, and other nations, but I can draw a clear line from Hashirama to Naruto. This line is a little blurry before then, but it's amazing that I can even do this. Naruto doesn't get enough credit for that. Each of the other ninja villages have some of their past Kages identified and some unique history. Kiri has the village of the Bloody Mist, Suna had Chiyo as a war hero and the Ichibi's attack, Kumo had Kinkaku, a person who killed the second Hokage, and they had the unique lineage of A's and B's. Iwa hired the Akatsuki as mercenaries and had their Kage and the Mizukage kill each other. The story also had unique politics. Each of the world wars had different alliances and were started over different reasons. In World War I, we know that Konoha was against Kumo and maybe even Iwa because Madara had some issues with them. World War II started due to economic issues and militaristic expansion. This war included Konoha, Suna, Iwa, and Ame. I believe it was either Konoha versus everyone or everyone for themselves because Hanzo led Ame and fought against the Sani. Chio was from Suna and Tsunade was countering her poisons. And Konoha ended World War II with a peace treaty with Onoki, the Kage of Iwa. World War III started because of a decline in national power that led to small battles with other nations, turning into an all-out war. We know that Konoha fought Iwa, Kumo, and Kiri. The Chunin exams is a political move to build relationships, and Tsuna's attack on Konoha was for political reasons. The ninja missions were going to Konoha, decreasing the village's funds. Enough about politics. Magic systems are another major part of world building, and Naruto has a great one. Arguably the most developed magic system in anime. Its layers create some of the best fights known to stories. Not only that, but some jutsu even have their own lore, which is just layered world building. And Naruto is not the only story that does this. All the other stories I mentioned before, and more, have intricate lore. Some of them, like Magi and AOT, have detailed politics. Some of them, like Toaru and Maki, have complex magic systems. In fact, if we go back to One Piece, the world lore is actually mostly unknown and remains a mystery. They call it the Void Century. So far, the only islands and people really relevant to world history are Jaya, Skypiea, Zou, and Joy Boy. The 20 plus locations barely interact with each other. Most of them just have their little lore in a bubble, though it's getting better in post-time skip. Its magic system is also basic. One Piece may be overflowing in geography, but is lacking in lore and magic. Its world building isn't perfect. 3. This train of thought removes context. One Piece is an adventure exploration story. Having many different locations to travel to benefits its goal. Naruto, Bleach, Kimetsu, JJK, and Hero aren't adventure stories. Are Death Note, Code Geass, and Haikyuu bad stories because they don't have a ton of locations? No. Most people have the sense to not allow that to cross their minds, because their genre doesn't demand many locations. Magi and Black Clover kind of are, but even then, stories that are adventure don't need to have 20 different locations for their settings to be considered good. In conclusion, good world building doesn't equal 20 plus locations. There's more to world building than a high island count. There's lore, politics, magic system, economy, and more. Judging the quality of a story setting by how many locations they have is stupid, and something Naruto fans and other fans sadly still do to this day. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, and help me revolutionize the manga industry by buying my manga and spreading the word. All important links will be in the description.